Hey Mac Performance, look at us. We are back in our office. We're back. It is truly back to actually being able to care for people. Let me get my live stream up so I can see who's on here and if there's any comments. It is our final night of our summer series. It is the last night. We have covered sun safety and how to go out into the sun and not get crispy-fied or sick from dehydration. We have covered how to start running, swimming, how to get back onto the golf course. This has been an intense series, and now we have the last piece of the puzzle, which is biking. And it truly is one of my fun go out de-stress activities. I don't do it avidly in an aggressive competitive sense. I really don't do it for endurance or physical activity, and I typically only do it when I'm back home with family on Mackinac Island, where our only options are walking, riding a bike, or riding a horse, since there are no vehicles. So bicycling, I'm not as big on when it comes to the competitive edge, but there are people who do. And honestly, if you hate running, you hate swimming, here is your opportunity to get some cardiovascular, build some strength without having the repetitive pounding or the damaging effects of chlorine. So now that we have some people live with us, I see we have Colin and Liz and Kayla and Denise. Welcome. I'm super excited to have you. Smash that like button so that I know you're here. Comment below. Of course, if you have questions as we're going through, go ahead and type those out in the bottom. And let's dive into our last and final series here with biking. So there are multiple types of bikes or ways to bike. You can be on a road, you can be back in the woods in the mountain, you can be tandem with your buddy, you can be on a track, you can do cyclocross, no idea what that was until today, or you could do BMX. Now, road, mountain, and tandem biking are probably, especially road and mountain, those are what you think of when you think of biking. Being out on the road, being back in the dirt and the mud, potentially track, which you only really see during the Olympics, where you're on a oval track, your bike is a single speed bike, and in fact, they don't even have brakes, and you are just going circular style. It is the speed skating of the Summer Olympics. That is where your track comes in. But for a little more detail on the cyclocross, because I was like, what is this? It's essentially the road racing, but in the mountains. It is incredibly messy. It is a very short track, and it is consistently run for 60 minutes. How many laps can you get done in that time can be one of the skill sets. It really takes some technical skills because they put you over jumps, they put you in the dirt. It is commonly used for cross training for downhill bikers. And downhill biking is when you go to like the top of a mountain and go down the mountain through a track with jumps and ravines, and my mom can attest to this. Can be fun, but not when you go in a ravine. I think that was the one day my dad almost murdered someone. It was kind of funny. And also, can I just say, whenever we went on vacation and did a biking excursion, we always had issues, which I don't know if I should say, but we did. It was always one of us ended up in a hole on the side of the road somewhere. And then the next one that was kind of unique was the BMX, which has now actually been made an Olympic sport back in 2008. It's not been as popular, but it is growing. And really, it's that kind of blend of motocross and bicycling all at once with stunts and ramps in kind of that race style competitive format. And it's really just short burst work. It can be extremely, extremely fun for those competitive type of people. I personally am clumsy and I wouldn't necessarily compete in it myself. And again, I like biking for the leisurely de-stress aspect of it. And hey, Liz, I miss you too, girl. I miss you too. Now, how do you start? You have 6 steps that you kind of can follow. And we're going to start with, how do you choose your right bike? Because there are a lot of different styles of bikes, and from e-bikes and fat bikes and triathlon bikes and tandem bikes. And I found the fat bikes to be the most interesting. They're the ones with the really chunky tires. So they have the fat tire bikes for going on sand and snow. So here in Minnesota, really beneficial in the wintertime. So there are quite a few of those here. But traditionally, when you're thinking of going on a bike, you're thinking of these 3. The gravel adventure bike, which is kind of your hybrid, can go on the road, but also has the shocks and suspensions to actually go off-roading. Your utility bike, where you're kind of hauling items around, having maybe a basket, maybe you're pulling kids behind you, or kind of your beach cruiser comfort bike. Those are kind of your 3 most common thought of bikes and the most affordable. Now, this is what I will tell you. Bikes can be insanely expensive. When you get into those high performance triathlon bikes and road bikes and race bikes, we're talking $15,000, $20,000. So recognize you might need to set a budget, maybe start and build up your strength with a lower, more affordable bike, and then build up into the more expensive bikes as you kind of develop what your system of biking is. Now, determining your size of a bike. You want to stand over the tube in the middle. So I would advise pretty much everyone to start with the traditional male bike versus the female bike that dips down so you can wear a dress. But start with this so that you can actually straddle the bike and see where the frame sits between your legs. This tells you how tall it's going to be. Because honestly, trying to buy a bike based on your height does not equate to your length of leg. When I'm with some of my family members, when we're standing, I'm 4 inches taller than them. When we're sitting, I'm 2 inches shorter. I have no torso. Absolutely zero torso. So my size of bike is going to be different simply because of where the bike frame is. Now next is going to be fitting your saddle. And for the most part, when you go out and buy a bike from Target or Walmart, or actually go to a cycle store and purchase a bike, they come with a universal seat or just a non-custom, non-fitted seat. And if you're going to be riding a lot, you want to make sure you have something that is absolutely comfortable for your body. And it's able to be positioned into the angle that you want to be. Because if you're going to be more aggressively riding on the road, sitting in that Tour de France kind of style of seat, you want to have it tilted forward. Versus if you're leisure cruising, you want to have it more seated up. So it all kind of depends upon where you're going to be going. And a key part, just going to grab my spine, is measuring your sit bones. So if you have your pelvis here, the bones that sit right here, which basically are the bony parts that get sore when your seat isn't right, you need to measure between those 2 bones. And you might be going, how am I supposed to measure that? And it's an awkward place. You're right. Do the Play-Doh method. And that is where you simply take 2 pieces of tinfoil, put about 2 inches of rolled out Play-Doh, set it on a chair, and sit on it. And see where the 2 most indented parts are. Those are your sit bones because they're the most bony, and measure the 2 spots in the middle. That's going to tell you what side width is going to make the most comfortable seat for your body. Women need a little bit wider, or a female pelvis need a little bit of a wider seat than a male pelvis, simply because we have different pelvic bases skeletally. So when taking that into account, if you don't want to go through that, go to a professional bike store. They have professional ways of actually gauging and measuring that, and they have the tools to do it. But if you don't want to bother and you want a cheap, easy method to do it at home, the Play-Doh method will get you there. Once you have your perfect seat, get it at the right tilt, get it at the right height, so that you can comfortably sit and comfortably pedal. You want your toe to just barely touch the ground, and you kind of want to be at that full range of motion and extension. Granted, everyone's body's going to be a little bit different. If you have knee issues, you may need to play around with your seat to best accommodate what your body needs. It also, your seat height depends on what type of biking you're going to be doing. If you're road biking, you want that higher seat so you're using your legs more. If you're mountain biking, you want a little lower seat so you have a little bit more control. It's really kind of teasing out the little activities. So if you're generally just, what do I do? Get something that sits comfortably, because if you hurt while you do something, you're not going to do it. You're not going to want to do it. Next, protect your head. Wear a helmet. No matter how stupid, wear a helmet. And this is something I have yelled at a lot, thrown fits at a lot, had hissy fits with people on motorcycles, because good Lord, you only get one brain. And honestly, when you look at the number of people who go to the hospital for concussions, it's from biking, not football. For the largest number. But think about, it's also based on population. There's a lot more people playing or biking versus playing football. Most people after high school are done playing football, for the most part. But a lot of people bike from itty-bitty 4-year-old up until like 106-year-olds can all bike. And if you don't protect your brain, what are you going to do? So make sure you have a up to safety standards helmet. They do have a shelf life, so don't just go out into the garage and dig up your old one. Wear a helmet, be safe. This is something that I'm honestly, when I'm on Mackinac Island, not very good at, and I'm going to have to get better at it if I'm going to rant. We need to wear helmets. We don't have good options for brain transplants at this time. Now for the fancy stuff. The things that can really take you to the next level. You can actually get shoes specific for biking. You can get the clipless pedals that your little feetses clip in so you can get better traction with your pedaling and put more force in. You can get specific moisture wicking socks and blister prevention. You can get a cute little biblet with matching shorts, and you can get those delightful biking shorts with extra cushion. You don't need it though. So it's just really fancy. You can also get a computer to track the distance and effort you're actually putting in while biking. So, I mean, this is all like the fancy frou-frou things you can add to your bike as you develop more of an interest or you want to take it to that next level, but it's not necessary. The biggest thing with starting a biking thing is you have to develop the habit. And honestly, any physical activity requires the development of a habit. It's a mental game. You need to set short and long-term goals, whether that's, hey, I want to go biking 4 times this week, and I want my total mileage for the week to be this. And eventually work up to, hey, I'm going to be competing in or participating in this 72-mile bike ride for cancer research at the end of the summer, and my ultimate goal is to be able to do that. So find whatever short and long-term goals that keep you motivated and keep you in the seat of your bike. Now, it's all about staying safe. So I'm going to kind of toss this out there again. Wear a helmet. Just do it. Currently, under the pandemic protocols, the CDC is recommending that in high traffic areas or on bike paths that there are other people on, to consider wearing a face covering or mask. And if you're going to go biking by yourself, make sure your cell phone is fully charged, you have a backup battery, and you have a toolkit for if and or when something breaks down. Because inherently, the furthest point you possibly could be from where you need to be is when something is going to happen and you're going to need something with you. So a simple mini pump, tire levers, spare tubes, potentially a multi-tool can help you make sure you can make it home and at least get off the road. And if you're going to be riding on the road with vehicles, know the rules. Here in Minnesota, if there's a designated bike lane, you need to remain in the bike lane and not be on the sidewalks. And cars are supposed to give you 3 feet of distance. Keyword, supposed to give you 3 feet of distance. Make sure you're wearing high reflective gear so that they can see you and avoid you. And you need to follow the signs and lights on the road, unless, this was the one caveat, since a lot of the traffic lights in this state are based on weight, so when a car pulls up, it will change. A bike isn't going to set that system off. You need to treat it like a 4-way stop at that point. So I found that kind of interesting. Now, as I was mentioning before, depending upon where you're going to invest your money, it's all based on your style. Are you going to non-competitively but maybe go with a group and ride? Are you a big solo adventure person? Do you get into racing? Are you trail riding? Are you doing the crazy BMX tricks? I don't know what your style will be, but that's where you get to have a lot of fun in figuring out what you're going to do. Then find your tribe. Find your people that you want to have either out on the road with you or providing you information or just frankly cheering you on to remain active. And that is where at Mobility Agility Chiropractic Performance, we've actually created a private accountability group. And this is for anyone, not just cyclists, not just runners. This is really for anyone who is trying to get more active and maybe eat better, whatever health goal they have. This is a safe space that they can find resources. There's going to be, once I have time, there's going to be exercise videos posted there, instructions on how to do different activities, recipes, and really a place that people can contribute and create a space of accountability so that we can watch each other grow. I know for me, I will not put myself first when it comes to my health and my exercise. I will find excuse after excuse to not go to the gym, to not eat at home. And I really need to change that mentality since it's what I tell my patients and my people to do. So I'm also using this group as a space for me to have accountability and for us to grow together. So I'm kind of excited to watch that space grow. You can find it on Facebook at MacP Accountability Group. If you want to join, check it out. Now, does anybody have any questions concerning what we covered tonight? Next week, while you're typing out those questions, next week we will be having kind of a large Q&A and group session of review of what we've gone over these past 5 weeks of content, just to make sure there wasn't like, oh, I watched that video 3 weeks ago and now I've been trying to do some of those things and here are the challenges I face. So if you've been doing stuff and something's not working, now's the time this week to either message the clinic or tune in next week just to ask your question live. If you want to have anonymity, of course you can private message the clinic and I'd happily ask that so people don't have to know what your question is and you can still get it answered. Now, after we do that kind of weekend review with questions, we're going to be doing a fall sports series. And the fall sports series is really going to be a huge benefit to anyone that is going to be participating and or have someone in the household participating, parents, in football, volleyball, hockey, and soccer. Because at least here in Minnesota, those fall sports are starting to ramp up. And with the change in, I can't remember, COVID restrictions that are going in place tomorrow, adult hockey leagues are starting up. So my adult hockey players are going to be hitting the ice, and bless them if they are going to be baby deers and probably have some pain after being out there. So I want to make sure that information is out there for how to safely get back into activity, what some home conditioning, home exercises, home prevention specific to each sport, what you can kind of do to prevent injuries and help keep your overall household healthy. So if there's a sport that I didn't mention, please add that in the comments below. If you think of something that you want to have covered, add that in the comments below. And I'm not seeing any questions right now. So with that, I hope this was informational and that you got the information you needed with this 5-part summer series. Because at Mobility, Agility, Chiropractic Performance, we are always trying to get you better faster, keep you better longer, because no one has time to be sidelined. And I'm so happy to be back in the clinic where I have better Wi-Fi. So have a wonderful, wonderful evening. I will see you next Tuesday at 6:30 Central Time. And I hope to hear from you if you have any questions. Have a wonderful evening and good night. To keep up to date with future content, please click subscribe. Additional information is found in the description of this video.
All information, content, and material of this video is for information purposes only and are not intended to serve as a substitute for the consultation, diagnosis, and/or medical treatment of a qualified physician or healthcare provider.